Hello everyone, welcome to my first ever Genshin Impact video guide. I will go over Chiori's kit, weapons, artifacts, constellations, and teams.
No, it's more than that. I don't chase trends. I follow my intuition. And my aesthetics follow their own rules.
Chiori is a 5-star Geo Sword sub-DPS and her ascension stat is crit rate. Now let's go over Chiori's abilities. Her elemental skill is the most important part of her kit, it's her main damage dealing tool. Here's what it does. Tapping Chiori's skill will make her dash forward. Once the dash ends, Chiori will slash nearby enemies, dealing AoE geo damage that scales with both her defense and attack. After dashing, Chiori will also summon an automaton doll Tomato beside her. Holding her elemental skill instead of tapping gives you the option to choose where you want to dash. The first half of her skill makes her sound like a Geo version of Kaching or Alhaitham, so let's talk about what makes her unique, her doll summon. Her doll stays on the field for 17 seconds and will slash at nearby enemies every 3.6 seconds, dealing AoE Geo damage. The doll's damage also scales with Chiori's defense and attack, but it does not snapshot. So for an example, using Bennett's burst to buff Chiori's attack and make the doll stronger will increase the doll's damage only until Bennett's burst expires. While her doll is active, if there's a Geo construct, or if a Geo construct is created nearby, an additional doll will be summoned next to your active character. Only one additional doll can be summoned in this manner, and its duration is independently counted. The dolls function like Furina's summons, they are not considered Geo constructs, which is great, because it means they can't be destroyed by enemies. I'm looking at you, Albedo and Zhongli. Keep in mind that even though her dolls do deal AoE damage, it's a rather small AoE, so in most cases it will only hit 1 or 2 enemies with its slashes, unless you group them with Anemo characters, but because of Geo and Anemo's lack of synergy, it's maybe best that you simply play her without Anemo units. Chiori's first passive talent ties to her elemental skill and can be used in 2 separate ways. The first one is called Tapestry. Tapestry happens when you tap Chiori's elemental skill again after the dash part of her elemental skill ends. Activating Tapestry will automatically switch to the next character in your roster. Because of that, when choosing the characters for your team, you should place the character that you want to get switched to in a character slot right after Chiori. Tapestry also makes it so that your active character's normal attacks, charged attacks, and plunging attacks make Chiori's doll do a coordinated attack, which is an exact copy of the slash that Chiori does after dashing with her skill. Dealing damage this way is considered elemental skill damage. This effect lasts for 8 seconds, and one coordinated attack can happen every 2 seconds. Only 2 such coordinated attacks can occur during those 8 seconds. The second way of using her first passive talent is called tailoring. Tailoring is activated by either normal attacking after using her elemental skill, or not tapping her elemental skill again after her elemental skill dash ends. Tailoring gives Chiori Geo infusion for 5 seconds. You will want to use her Tapestry effect every time if you want her to be useful, unless you have her C6, which I'll talk about later. Her second passive talent gives her 20% Geo damage bonus for 20 seconds when a party member creates a Geo construct. Chiori loses a big portion of her damage when used without Geo constructs, so I don't recommend doing that. Chiori's burst is quite straightforward. Her elemental burst is an AoE slash that deals Geo damage and scales with her own defense and attack. Its energy cost is 50 and its cooldown is 13.5 seconds. This means that Chiori only needs around 130 energy recharge when paired with another Geo character to be able to perform her elemental burst every rotation. The damage on her burst isn't that high, so even if you don't burst every rotation it won't be a problem. Her burst's AoE is quite large, so it works well in situations where you need to fight lots of enemies. Chiori benefits most from crit value, so weapons with low base attack and high crit or defense substat are going to be her best options. Her best in slot is her signature weapon. It has a low base attack and gives up to 88.2% crit damage, and it also increases the wielder's normal attack damage, elemental skill damage and defense, which is perfect for Chiori. Her second best 5-star option is Primordial Jade Cutter. It has a low base attack just like her signature weapon and gives up to 44.1% crit rate with some bonus attack from its passive. With just this weapon and her Ascension stat, you'll be around 70% crit rate, so keep that in mind when building her. You don't want to overcap on crit rate. All the other 5-star swords with a crit rate or crit damage substat are good on her. If you have one of them already built, you can use it on her. Chiori's free-to-play options are great. The best one is Harbinger of Dawn at Refinement rank 5, unless you're using her in a team with Furina. Harbinger of Dawn has a crit damage substat, it can go up to 46.9%, and it also has an insane passive for off-field characters. When the wearer's HP is above 90%, their crit rate is increased by 28% at Refinement rank 5. This means that this common 3-star weapon has a crit value of 103% as long as you keep your Chiori's HP above 90%, which is crazy good. Harbinger of Dawn at Refinement rank 5 outperforms most 5-star swords on Chiori. You should never use it with Furina in your team though, because Furina's elemental skill will constantly drain your entire team's HP, which means that Chiori won't get the above 90% HP crit rate bonus. Without the crit rate bonus, Harbinger of Dawn loses half of its crit value and it becomes mediocre. Cinnabar's Spindle and Festering Desire are great options for Chiori if you want to use her with Furina, or if you simply don't want to use Harbinger of Dawn. The only problem is that both of these weapons are event-exclusive weapons, and if you haven't done the Dragon's Pine events, you simply don't have a way of obtaining them. Cinnabar's Spindle gives a bunch of defense, and also increases the wearer's elemental skill damage by 80% of defense at Refinement rank 5. The elemental skill damage increase does have a cooldown of 1.5 seconds, which means that if you have 2 dolls on the field, the other doll might not have its damage increased by the weapon's passive, unless you specifically time your Geo-Construct placement 1.5 to 3.6 seconds after summoning the first doll, which still doesn't mean that the weapon is bad. Festering Desire's substat is ER, which is not that great, but its passive effect compensates for that. Festering Desire's passive increases the wearer's elemental skill damage by 32% and elemental skill crit rate by 12% at Refinement rank 5. This passive makes Festering Desire a great weapon option for Chiori, and even lets her burst every rotation without ER artifact substats. Wolf Fang, a Battle Pass weapon, is amazing on her if you have it at Refinement rank 5, and is fine at Refinement rank 1 too. If you don't have any of these weapons, you can use the Fontaine Fishing Sword, which isn't the greatest but is usable on her. Chiori's best artifacts are 4-piece Golden Troop and 4-piece Husk of Opulent Dreams, and both of these artifact sets are fairly close in strength when used on Chiori, which means that you should just check your artifact substats and choose the 4-piece set with better ones. 4-piece Golden Troop gives your Chiori 45% elemental skill damage bonus plus and an additional 25% when she's not on the field. When playing Chiori, you'll want to use her elemental burst, her skill, and then switch to your main DPS, which means that Chiori has a generally low field time, and that makes 4-piece Golden Troop a perfect artifact set for her. Also, farming Golden Troop is never a waste of time or resources because both artifact sets in its domain are extremely valuable. 4-piece Husk of Opulent Dreams gives 30% defense and also gives the wearer a curiosity effect in the following conditions. When on the field, you get 1 stack of curiosity after hitting an opponent with a Geo attack, and it has a cooldown of 0.3 seconds. When off the field, you get 1 stack every 3 seconds. Curiosity can stack up to 4 times. Each stack of Curiosity provides 6% defense and 6% Geo damage bonus. After 6 seconds of not getting stacks, one stack is lost. When fully stacked, Chiori will get 54% defense and 24% geo damage bonus from the 4-piece Husk of Opulent Dream set. These stats are highly beneficial for Chiori's entire kit because of her high defense scaling on her elemental skill and burst, and unlike Golden Troop, buff her entire kit and not just her skill. The Husk set can also be obtained through the Strongbox, which is a good thing. Her elemental skill is still the main source of her damage, so as I previously said, you should just use a 4-piece set with better substats. For her artifact main stats you will want to use Defense Sands, because of her high defense scaling, and you can also use Attack Sands if you don't have a defense one. Her defense scaling is better than her attack scaling, but attack is still usable. Geo damage bonus for her Goblet, defense or attack can be used instead if you're using Chiori in a team with Furina. Lastly, you want either a crit rate or crit damage circlet. As for artifact substats, crit is the most valuable one, after it comes defense percent, then attack percent, and also having some ER on your pieces can enable using elemental burst every rotation, which is a nice little DPS bonus. Let's go over Chiori's Constellations now. Her C1 increases the AoE of the doll summoned by Chiori's skill by 50%. Additionally, in order to summon 2 dolls instead of 1, and to trigger her second passive, you just need to have another Geo character in the party with Chiori. This constellation isn't that great unless you want to use Chiori with Navia. C2 summons a Kinu doll every 3 seconds for 10 seconds after using Chiori's burst. This doll will attack nearby opponents, dealing AoE Geo damage. Damage dealt this way is considered elemental skill damage. A doll created in this way will leave the field after 1 attack or after lasting 3 seconds. This constellation is a big DPS increase from her C0 and C1 and makes using her elemental burst every rotation a must. C3 increases her elemental skill talent level by 3. Pretty good damage increase. C4 makes it so that for 8 seconds after triggering either follow-up effect of Chiori's first talent when your active character's normal, charged, or plunging attacks hit a nearby opponent, a Kinu doll will be summoned. You can summon 1 Kinu doll every 1 second in this way and up to 3 Kinu dolls during each instance of this effect. This effect can be triggered up to once every 15 seconds. C5 increases Chiori's elemental burst talent level by 3. This constellation isn't that meaningful, so C4 is a pretty good stopping point. C6 decreases Chiori's elemental skill cooldown by 12 seconds after triggering her first talent follow-up effect. In addition, Chiori's normal attacks damage is increased by 235% of her own defense. This constellation unlocks a whole new playstyle for Chiori. With this constellation, Chiori can be played as an on-field DPS. I'm a big fan of her normal attack animations, so I hope that I'll have her C6 one day. Finally, let's go over Chiori's teams. Itto synergizes well with Chiori because his elemental skill is considered a Geo construct. Navia is good when paired with Chiori even though she doesn't have a Geo construct in her kit. Chiori is a good battery for Navia and brings consistency to Navia teams because her dolls can't be destroyed. I am once again looking at you, Albedo and Zhongli. Noelle is a good pick if you also want to use Furina or if you have Chiori's first constellation because Noelle doesn't summon Geo constructs. Ningguang's skill summons a Geo construct, which makes her a good pick for a Chiori team. Albedo or Zhongli can be good with Chiori in mono Geo teams. You can try using these Chiori teams. I hope you all enjoyed the guide. Chiori's kit isn't that interesting in my opinion, but I really like her character, design, and personality, which are things I care about the most in a character. What's your opinion on Chiori, Albedo fans? Good luck on your polls everyone, bye bye.